It's shiny. It's awesome. It's cool. It's a piece of hardware that I can give for my baby boy.
Porque eu não comi nada antes.
You know, absolutely. Hold on, I'm talking, brother. 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 Hold on, I'm talking, brother.
Hello, and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking, Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood, and you are listening to our review of UFC Fight Night Austin, Kattar versus Emmett, a historic fight night card this past weekend. And Tom Ballum, out of 10, what would you rank, or rate, I should say, this fight night card?
Well, whenever we're given these rankings, they have to be anchored in some sort of reality. Unfortunately, that doesn't apply to the UFC's own rankings of fighters, but we will get into that later on.
Oh.
Joe, if we're going to preface this and say it's a fight night and it's following up on a card that I know you felt was one of the best of the year,
Yeah.
this is a 10, Joe. This is a straight 10. No hesitation.
Yeah. The only thing that would ever stop me from giving this, as a fight night card, I'd say it was a 10. If it had main event with a belt on the line and a pay-per-view, I would say that would be like a 10 out of 10 pay-per-view as well. This was absolutely stonking. To the point where I think even the commentators were in slight disbelief at how ridiculous the amount of finishes were on this card. But speaking of finishes, let's talk about the main event, which did not get a finish in there, sadly. A featherweight contender matchup between Josh Emmett and Calvin Kattar ends in a split decision for Josh Emmett. Scored 48-47 in his favour on two judges' scorecards, 48-47 on Kattar, one of those cards. Tom, make the case, if you can, that Josh Emmett won 3 rounds of this fight.
Well, if you go to the man himself, he was a little bit dismayed with the result, as he felt he had won 4 of the 5 rounds. Now, listen, before I answer your question, I have a question for you.
Go on.
Which round does Josh Emmett feel like he lost in that fight?
It must be the first.
Joe, did you watch the fight? Please tell me that.
Was it the first or the second?
Joe,
I watched it live.
All right.
So it was 3 in the morning.
Hold up. You did see the 4th and the 5th round, I assume.
Oh yeah.
What is your account of those 2 rounds?
Calvin Kattar won them.
He absolutely dismantled him. Did you see Josh Emmett after the fight?
Yes, one eye was very much closed.
But he came straight out of a Lord of the Rings 4th edition, leading an army out of Mordor. He was mashed. His eye was totally closed. Joe, he was asked in the post-fight press conference if he could see out of the eye, and he was like, well, I think I can see, but it hurts too much to open it. That's why it's closed. But
I love that. Can you see out your eye? And the first answer isn't yes. It's well. That's a no in my terminology. Yeah.
Joe, the answer is that Josh Emmett only felt like he lost the 2nd round.
Did he really say that?
Yes. Yes, he did. Now, do you agree with him, Joe? How did you have it?
Well, he definitely lost the 2nd round, and then he lost the 4th and the 5th, and then lost the 3rd as well, in my mind, if I remember correctly. No. I had Emmett winning the 3rd.
Yeah. So, Joe, for me, just to lay it out there, obviously, we had a bit of controversy last week when we were looking at the main event. I know you've since had a bit of reflection, a bit of a come to Jesus moment. I know you feel a little bit embarrassed. Had a few mails from the fans. I
don't understand what you're...
Joe, we're moving on. Joe,
anyway,
we're moving on.
Anyway, let's move on to this.
We're moving on, and I'm pleased to say we are on the same page here. So Calvin Kattar, you can make a case that he didn't win that first round. Emmett did end with a nice blitz, landed probably the bigger shots in the first, although they were pretty evenly matched on the strikes. We go into the second, where my account for the whole fight really is that without Emmett having explosive moments, if you just let it play out, Kattar is ahead. He's always ahead, but Emmett chases him down with those big moments when he gets Kattar reacting, the hooks to the body, the overhands, and Kattar seems to be flying all around the cage. But those are just little moments. But in general, Calvin Kattar leads the dance in this fight.
Yeah, I don't see how, because also with Emmett, he was throwing these like big power shots, and I was watching this, and I was obviously listening to the commentary as well, and they're reacting to it in a big way. And there was a couple that landed that Kattar reacted in a big way, and he sort of backed off so that he was out of range, and then he could reset and come back in. But I found that with a lot of Emmett's big shots, I found myself going, blocked, that was blocked as well, because Kattar kept his hands up quite close to his head because he was using mostly a boxing stance, boxing style. Jabbed the heck out of Josh Emmett, and then sort of retreated out there. The problem, I think, is that Kattar just absolutely threw zero combinations. It was a jab and then elbows coming in from quite a long way out. No kicks, which was probably down to the fact that he was worried that Emmett was going to take him down. Emmett did take him down and Kattar got back up. So I still don't understand why Kattar in rounds 4 and 5, which again to us he clearly won, but to the judges he didn't, wasn't throwing leg kicks to a guy who has had surgery on both knees.
Joe, look, I'm sorry. But...
Game plan wise, this was a mistake from Kattar.
I mean, look, I think so. We covered the first, we covered the second there, which we gave to Kattar. Emmett had the same kind of moments again in the third. He looked a bit stronger. Kattar was kind of upset from his rhythm sufficiently that you could give it to Emmett. Basically, where Emmett was able to match Kattar's output, I'm all right with giving the round to Josh Emmett. But the fourth and the fifth, there's no way they can be judged.
No.
There's no way. I mean, Kattar outlanded him 2-1. Didn't absorb far less damage. And then if you look at the fight cumulatively, look at the two guys at the end of the fight. Who are you going to tell me won that fight?
I tend to dislike the eye test when it comes to these things. No pun intended on Josh Emmett's eye there. But you're right. Like, Emmett was busted up at the end of that fight. I mean, can I give you the numbers for the rounds 4 and 5?
Yes, please do.
Because they must have given Emmett the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
But that's because round 4, Kattar landed 41 of 106 and Emmett landed 21 of 80. So that's nearly double.
Yeah.
And round 5, 34 of 86 for Kattar, 22 of 67 for Emmett. Again, it's nowhere near.
It's comprehensive, Joe, those last 2 rounds.
Yeah. But again, let me talk you through this. Round 1, Kattar threw 1 leg kick, landed that, and rounds 2, 3, 4 and 5, 0 leg kicks. So, look, that's criminal. I mean, that is absolutely criminal.
I understand the point you're trying to make. Perhaps, it maybe not the case in the 4th and the 5th round. He certainly didn't need to do any more. The thing is, I sound, like I've taken a very strong position that this is a big injustice. But I actually don't feel that. Just to pull back for a second and kind of go to your line of thinking, looking at mistakes Kattar's made, because those first 3 rounds, they can be scored either way. They were in that margin where there's no outrage.
Of course. Yeah, in fact, I would say probably the clearest round for Emmett may have actually been the 3rd.
Yeah, that was my opinion.
Yeah. So again, as you say, rounds 1 and 2 close, go either way. And I guess technically Kattar did pull away in rounds 4 and 5, but just didn't do enough early on, even though evidence showed that he could have actually done a lot more. Like, that risk really wasn't there. The power was starting to dip from Emmett as the fight went on. Seemed to empty it out in round 3, trying to put him away. Maybe he knew that he couldn't go, or didn't think that he could finish him late on or win those later rounds, so wanted to try and put him away. Didn't. Kattar obviously won the later rounds, but didn't mix up his attack. There was zero, like, he just jab, endlessly jabbing. Never a 1-2, never any hooks in there. Bizarre performance, I think, in some aspects.
I mean, that is his game, though. He has got an amazing jab. You can see that. You can ask Josh Emmett and his optician, right now, how effective was Kattar's jab. That's his style, Joe. I mean, obviously, it has to be chalked down to a mistake because of the results and because of the stage that they're both in at their careers. We did say that this is one of them goes up and the other is down for a fair bit now.
Yeah.
So you have to call it a mistake for Kattar. Nonetheless, we emerge with a winner in Josh Emmett. He's the one who marches forward. He's ready now for a title shot. Should he get it against the winner of Max Holloway and Volkanovski?
Ooh. What's his win streak now? Is it 6 for Emmett?
Yeah, he's got a good number of wins under his belt now. I mean, Kattar is probably the standout win there. He's probably the highest caliber opponent. It's 5 fights now for Josh Emmett, including Dan Ige, Shane Burgos, Mirsad Bektic, and Michael Johnson. So Kattar...
I would say that his wins, that 5-fight win streak, because of the names he has on it, is a bit more impressive than Arnold Allen's 9. Arnold Allen just needs, I think, that one more to get him over the top. Even though, I don't know, 9-fight win streak in featherweight, that's really impressive and probably does warrant a title shot in any in a fair and just world.
Joe, is part of your account here, is it a bit of sympathy for Emmett's age and recent injuries? You know, we have said he's 37. We kind of know he's not, if he doesn't get it now, maybe he's not going to get it.
Not quite. I don't know. Maybe that is not in the forefront of my mind, but maybe at the back of it there's somewhere. Maybe there's just not that real clear contender outside of Holloway. I know that there's a matchup. There's a fight night coming up soon, actually, headlined by Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodrigues. Winner of that faces Emmett for a title shot.
And Arnold Allen's just excluded from the picture.
Well, Arnold Allen may be facing TKZ, apparently. So that could be on the cards. I mean, Arnold Allen Emmett would be one hell of a fight, I think, to put out there. I will say, though, I find Emmett, since the injury, he's a bit reduced, isn't he? There's something missing there. That little zhuzh that he had in the Bektic fight, you know, that knockout of Michael Johnson, which left him stiff, you know, and falling back. Of course, the Burgos, you know,
Jeremy
absolute
Stevens.
Banger. Yeah, well, the loss to Jeremy Stevens, but still an absolute sort of fiery performance. There is something slightly missing from him now. But if he gets another win, of course he deserves a title shot.
All right, I think we're on the same page there. One more win for Emmett. Likewise for, you know, it's going to be very hard to argue against the winner of Ortega Rodrigues if it's in some stylish fashion. And then, of course, we've got Arnold Allen. I mean, I think we're both making the favourite against Korean Zombie. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no clear standout contenders. I just want to ask you one more question about this fight before we move on. And again, it's centred on Emmett's comments after the fight. So in the same line that he was saying that he won 4 of the 5 rounds, he was also saying that he's now should be next in line for a title fight. Now that is a fighter's disposition. They need to do that. They need to promote themselves. They need to believe. Yeah. He also then went on to talk about the winner of Holloway and Volkanovski being the kind of GOAT of this era, at least. And then he said, however, he is actually himself the best featherweight in the world at the moment. Now, does he need to believe that? Does he believe that?
He needs to believe that. If he's going to be a contender, and he's saying these guys are the greatest of this era, yet I think I can beat them. Of course, he's going to have to say that.
Well, that's a bit softer than what the man himself said. You've been quite gentle to poor old.
I haven't seen his comments. I didn't tuck in. There was only one post-fight press conference I watched, which we will get to in a moment. But yeah, it's just fighter mentality thing, isn't it? He's the one who's thinking, I'm the one that's going to beat Volkanovski, and I'm going to do it to him, and I'm going to absolutely humiliate him. He needs to think that way.
Yeah, you're probably right, Joe.
Yeah, that is it. Anyway, should we talk about the co-main event? Hold on. What's next for Calvin Kattar? Should we?
He's bumped down, Joe. You know, he's in that nether zone. Giga Chikadze, he's already.
Yeah, what are we looking at here? He's going to have to fight some youngster, isn't he? Like a Taporia or something. Yeah, Evloev. Yeah, he's going to have to start. He's going to have to take out some young guns and work his way back up.
It's a big setback, Joe. This one and the Holloway loss. It's, you know. I do believe
Bryce Mitchell.
I think that's the range we're looking at for him. I mean, we've got so many guys who are now just above him in that kind of mid to top range that he has to go right to the bottom of the mid range, and then you're looking, someone around rank 10. Evloev,
Sadiq
Yusuf, that's right. Topuria.
Barbosa.
Tough break, but Kattar, he's got more time. He's got more time.
For sure. Right. Co-main event. This is, we're going to go through the rest of this card. This is fight number 1 that we're going to talk about of 9, which had a hellacious finish. Kevin Holland defeats Tim Means by a Darce choke in round number 2. And I've got to say, quietly impressed with Kevin Holland here in this performance. Tim Means, you were slightly ragging on him before in our preview episode, going like, get this old bum out of here sort of thing. You weren't that impressed. Tim Means is a really good test to see whether you can start fighting ranked fighters. If you can't get past Tim Means, it's kind of the Brad Tavares sort of thing, isn't it? If you can get past Tavares, hey man, you got Brunson waiting for you, you got fucking Vettori, great. If you can beat Tim Means, according to Kevin Holland, he's got Sean Brady waiting for him. We'll get to that in a moment, but Kevin Holland in this fight, got to say, very impressed, created these chaotic exchanges in which then he produced really strong, technical, straight punches.
Oh, straight down the pipe, Joe. Straight. Beautiful.
So good. Yeah. So good. Really, absolutely impressed with how he approached this, because he knows Tim Means, straight, technical fighter. He's got his absolute, got his ABCs absolutely correct. He knows I need to make it a bit scrappy and then make it technical in that wild exchange. Really well done from him. And an excellent finish to get to the Darce choke as well, as you'll tell us all about.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was. It started with one of these straight shots down the barrel, which rocked Means. Holland then kind of tied up in the clinch, worked Means down to the ground in Means' kind of state of dishevelment and confusion after that big shot, and sunk in a Darce choke, smooth as you like. So good stuff from the black belt, Kevin Holland.
We'll forget that he's trained by Travis Luder, isn't he? So no scrub.
No scrub. Now, the thing is, he's saying that he wants to fight between welterweight and middleweight. What do you think, Joe?
No, stick with welterweight and go up to middleweight after you've gone through welterweight. He clearly doesn't like the dieting side of it. Go through welterweight, try and get a run together. Get in there, try and fight some ranked guys. Someone like Michel Pereira, would be a good one. But Sean Brady, hell of a test to put out there for yourself, and to be like, I can take on these wrestlers. That's what he's trying to say.
Right. Yeah, props to him. I mean, I'm slightly incredulous at seeing that and hearing that, given what happened at middleweight against Brunson and against Vettori. But we do give that assumption that at 15 pounds lighter they're going to have a harder time taking down a faster man who's got a lot of range. 81-inch reach for Holland at welterweight. That is pretty tough for the likes of Sean Brady, for example. So I'm interested to see it. I'd rather have a slightly less active Kevin Holland if he can continue to number 1 fight at welterweight, and number 2 keep the streets clean and safe for the citizens of America.
I can't believe he did it again. On Friday, before the fight night card, he did it again. This man is insane. Again, just what was the crime that he stopped this time?
I think someone had stolen from a shop that Kevin was frequenting. He was in an Italian restaurant after the weight cut, and the criminal tried to get away, and Kevin chased him down.
This is like the 7th or 8th time this has happened in the last year. It's insane.
I think this might be a statement on the kind of places that Kevin is I'm not sure he's. But anyway, props to him. Good stuff. On to the next fight, Joe.
My heart just skipped a beat. This is our main event, isn't it? Joaquin Buckley turned up in Austin and put on an absolute arse whooping against Albert Duraev. He passed the Dagestani wrestler test, Buckley, and with flying colours. Finishes with a doctor's stoppage. at the end of round 2, going into round 3. And because Duraev's eye was, let's just say, completely shut, and he wanted no more of that smoke, brother. He didn't want anything else to do with Buckley, who, this was his best performance in the UFC. Like, clearly his best performance in the UFC. He was
excellent. Now, on paper, this is a matchup in which you would fear for Joaquin Buckley. Definitely looks a bit limited in that department. He's not quick enough to sprawl. He's too heavy with his hands. He's vulnerable to these wrestlers. Duraev himself said as much off the back of a training camp they had once had. Was very dismissive of your boy.
Our boy.
Yeah, I mean, the boy, Joaquin. And he looked absolutely excellent. He was really mixing in his shots. He was still throwing high kicks. It was a high kick that that started Duraev's descent into oblivion.
Absolutely, sent him flying.
Duraev does manage with some credit in that he ate that. Yes. He no-sold it, having got shin to face. But unfortunately, physics caught up with him and his eye ballooned up. No questions about the stoppage for me. Really fantastic display. And, Joe... This man is a star. He's
great.
He's amazing. Like the energy he has, the kind of aggression, ferocity, but he's also, well mannered.
Well, I'm about to drop the promo that he cut post fight right here for the listeners.
Ladies and gentlemen, it comes the end. 10 seconds, round number 3. Declaring your winner by TKO, Joaquin Numento.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin, there seems to be a little bit of animosity between you two at the beginning of the fight. I don't know where it stemmed from, but how good does it feel to put an end to it in that fashion?
It don't stem from nothing, man. This is war when we come out here in this cage, man. We ain't friends, man. We enemies, but when the bell rung and the referee called the fight off, that's when we get that love back, baby. So it's all good. No animosity, man. I love that boy. He my brother.
If you take a look up here, you were able to defend takedowns, and it was your straight left hand that did so much damage to him. Did you guys know that those strikes from that side would be available against them?
That's going to be available on anybody I fight, you know what I mean? But more than anything, I wanted to show my wrestling defense, He took me down a couple times, but he was supposed to hold me down. He didn't do that. I got my ass back up, and we got to fight again.
Joaquin, you said that in your last fight you were disappointed that you didn't seem as fresh as you wanted to as the fight went on. You seem great tonight. What have you changed that have allowed you to be this good this late in the fight?
Just my coach right here, Justin Hardy, man. He put the conditioning on me. We did a lot of running, you know what I'm saying, non-stop, man, until I couldn't go no more. And then eventually, man, later on through my camp, I started beating my own records, you know what I mean? So, man, just hard work, man, just hard grind. Going back to that blue card and stuff, man. You already know. But one more thing, man, I just want to thank the UFC. I want to thank everybody. Austin, I love y'all, man, for coming out and showing me so much love. Y'all so dope, man. But guess what? UFC keep putting me out here for these live arenas, man. And I'm telling y'all, I'm going to be knocking folks out because of this energy, baby. Let's go. I love all y'all. Thank you.
Well, congratulations on the massive fight. You've never looked better. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Joaquin Buckley.
I'm coming home, baby. Let's go.
I love the fact that he just beat this guy up and he said, "Nothing but love, that's my brother right there." That's my favourite part of it. It's just he's put an absolute arse whooping on this dude. They had a bit of heat before and then he was just like, that's my brother out there. It's like, well, I don't know if he feels the same, but fair play for you, Joaquin, for putting that out there. And hopefully that feeling is felt the same by Duraev. But my God, Buckley is just...
Fuck that guy. Fuck Duraev. He was so dismissive. He needed that himself. He needed that.
You're absolutely right. And my word, Buckley, the man is just a whirlwind of energy. And how can you not want to watch this guy fight every single time?
Like, the UFC needs to get the team behind him and they need to pick the right fights for him. Because, he's not quite there. Can't mix it with the cream of the crop just yet. I hope that he can get to that kind of level, which brings us on to what's next. Is he ready for, these guys, ranked 10 to 15 at middleweight. The likes of Shabazian somehow is still in the rankings.
How?
Yeah, it's.
I mean, we'll get to the rankings at the next fight.
Like, this is not the most outrageous example of.
By the way, is Weidman still ranked?
Weidman is 14th, Joe. Brad Tavares, as you know, he's still the test at number 12. I think Joaquin can.
Well, Tavares has won 2 fights in a row, so I'm not going to be.
I think Joaquin can get in there with these guys.
Okay,
is he ready?
I think he's ready for like a rankings contender fight. So we're talking about maybe if Chris Curtis, if he wins at the weekend, that sort of fight.
Chris Curtis has upset some streaks. I want to protect Joaquin a little bit. I kind of fancy Weidman. I kind of fancy that.
What about is Meerschaert still around? We could set that.
Joe, I'm talking rankings for the boy. Put some shine on his name.
Oh, Meerschaert is scheduled to fight Bruno Silva.
It's bum territory, Joe.
Christoph Jotko, maybe. I don't know. What are we looking for? Are we just looking for someone to for Buckley to wipe out?
Yeah, smoke. Well, Weidman. You know what? He's so slow wrestling anyway. It's a test. Smoke him, pack him off, and keep the star shooting higher.
Wait, so that would be the wrestler test. It's just like he's completed wrestling.
That's it. No more wrestlers after that. He's totally legitimate.
Then you give him Darren Till. Because they had that exchange backstage, if you remember that.
I don't. That sounds fantastic, though.
Buckley got up in his face and he said, like, let's go. Let's do it. And Till's just like, yeah, sure. Buckley walks off and then Till turns to Chimaev and he said, like, I don't know who that is. And then Chimaev was, like, trying to stare Buckley down. Now, we know Chimaev doesn't want any of that heat, okay, for his own sake. But maybe they could give him the easy run. The Weidman who's washed, Darren Till who's probably going to lose to Hermansson in a couple weeks, then a title shot.
It makes sense to me, Joe.
Oh man!
All right,
Joaquin. Anytime you want to come on the show, come on.
I think. I mean, really, we might need to change the cover art. There's a new man in town.
Yeah.
Body of a god.
I mean, just. I just love him. I just love his energy. I absolutely love just how he cuts the promos.
It's so authentic, though, Joe. That's just him. That's just him
living
his normal life. It would be this.
It's not this.
He could be buying bread and eggs, Joe. The energy's the same.
Yeah.
Now,
exactly.
Listen. Now we got to get onto this next fight here.
Yes, I love this fight.
Oh my god! At lightweight, Damir Ismagulov beats Kutateladze by decision. Kutateladze is a no-wiki wonder.
How?
He doesn't have a Wikipedia page, Joe.
This guy owns.
He absolutely owns.
This guy owns. He is so good. And by the looks of it, Kutateladze, this is his second fight in the UFC.
I can't check his Wikipedia, Joe. I don't know.
Hold on. Give me 2 seconds.
No, it is. In his first fight, he beat Gamrot.
Which is insane. These are the 2 guys he's faced. Is Gamrot. He's faced Gamrot and Ismagulov. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, real deep end of the pool, isn't it? Like, this doesn't get easy.
Joe, what it is obscene. Now, let's just be clear here. Ismagulov has looked amazing in his run in the UFC. This is a man who, let me just flick to the rankings page.
He's 5-0.
Now I'm counting all the way from 1 to 15. The guy is what, 23-1 now? 1 to 15.
5-0 in the UFC.
5-0 in the UFC. Been untested up to this point, coming into this fight, and he's unranked. Now Kutateladze, that poor fella can't even get a Wikipedia page, and he's beaten Gamrot in his one.
Who's 12th?
Who's 12th? And let me just. Gamrot, do you recall his record off the top of your head? I think that's Gamrot's only loss. He's 20-1, Joe. 20-1. He lost to Kutateladze. And then Kutateladze gets matched up with Ismagulov. Now, look, Joe, how good were these guys?
They were fantastic. By the way, the how they were changing to each other's game plans was absolutely superb. So, like, Kutateladze was throwing like this, like, right leg which was his rear leg, like kick, like right up the middle, sort of like the Machida Anderson Silva sort of to the
crane kick.
The crane kick.
But it was so fast, Joe. It was so fast. Came out of nowhere. Shades of Barbosa, not in the muscular kind of definition with which he threw those kicks, but with the speed that he could get it up and down.
Yeah.
It could come in the same, like an uppercut. It could come from a hook. It could come in an exchange out of nowhere. He was able to spin. Also, almost caught Ismagulov with a spinning kick. Glanced the side of the head. I mean, the guy looked also incredible.
The hand fighting and clinch fighting as well was really good. Like the strikes that were coming off the clinch, fantastic from Ismagulov. These two were absolute, and how they adjusted to each other. Again, as we talked before. So like, hold on, I got it wrong there. Kutateladze sort of like threw this like axe kick. So like Ismagulov puts his hand up the next time he goes to feint it, and he just throws a body kick instead. And then, there was that slightly a dodgy ending as well, with that sort of like knee to the chest that Herb thought was to the head. I don't know how you feel about that.
It was to the neck area. I think it was a tough position for Herb to be in. However, the bit where I'd bring that moment in is when we talk about the overall scoring. Now, it was a split decision. How did you have the fight, Joe?
I had it 2-1 for Ismagulov.
Oof. See, I had it 2-1 for Kutateladze.
Which ones do you give Kutateladze?
I believe it was the first and the third.
I gave the second and the third to
Ismagulov.
Now
that's where this moment with Herb Dean stopping what he thought was an illegal knee on the mat, but actually probably was a fair knee whilst they were scrambling, and Kutateladze landed on top. He was in a dominant position to close out that third round. I think without that intervention from Herb, he would have been given that round.
I probably agree. It was real borderline, wasn't it? It was very, very borderline. Did you notice, by the way, with Ismagulov, the sort of like weird right eye, the twitch thing?
He's just calibrating the jab. That's what he was doing. He was just measuring his angles, because that man has got the fundamentals down. Now, we've talked about Kutateladze, but Ismagulov's management of distance and timing was the best I've seen in the UFC.
By the way, I loved also how both of them were using their feints as well. Like the feints are starting to become much more of like a tool that's used within MMA now. And we'll talk about that with the bantamweight fight that opened this card. The main card, I should say. So like Ismagulov sort of feinting for the takedown and then like throwing shots to the body off of that. It was excellent how they both just layered their sort of offense off of different skills and techniques. Fantastic. Shall we talk about rankings?
Well, Joe, I'm itching to go. I'm itching to go here.
Let's talk about it.
Look, your boy can't even get a Wikipedia page. What the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on? How can you match Kutateladze up with Ismagulov and Gamrot whilst you've got the likes? I mean, the guys who are sitting there in the top 10, when you've got Sharukian, Gamrot, Ismagulov, and now Kutateladze as well. Makachev obviously has beaten everybody in the division that they'll match him up with, and he can't, well, barring one aberration, he can't get a title fight yet. Joe, honestly, be real, all right? I'm going to say some names here, and you can take just a amalgamation of Gamrot, Sharukian, Kutateladze, who you can just think, you don't even have to think specifics. I'm just talking about the tier of fighter here. And I'm going to say, does that tier of fighter beat Tony Ferguson?
Yeah.
What about Rafael dos Anjos?
I think RDA is the test for those guys, but I think I would back 3 of those 4 to beat RDA.
You wouldn't give it to Gamrot?
Kutateladze would be the one I'd be a bit like, that would be an interesting test. I think he could beat him. The other 3, I'd be pretty sure they would beat him.
Right. Gaethje.
Oh, I think Gaethje's so wild that he can sort of drag people into his fight. But hold on, are we including Sarukian in this?
I'm including Sarukian, yeah.
Oh man, I think Sarukian smokes him.
I think Sarukian absolutely smokes him in one round.
This is why it bugs me, that Poirier-Gaethje matchup that's being made, and everyone's sort of like creaming their trousers over it. The fact that Charles Oliveira is ranked number 1, okay, I get that. He's the champ, really, but he's not on officially. How is Makhachev not number 2? And then how is Poirier and Gaethje ahead of Dariush? How are they ahead of, Chandler? I mean, Chandler's won recently. Poirier and Gaethje have had 3 title fights. Both had an interim title fight that they won, and they have had 2 official title fights that they've both lost convincingly. They should not be in the top 5. I don't care who they are. I don't care about how big their name is.
I'll tell you what it is.
How? By the way, and this is the fucking elephant in the room, as always. Conor McGregor ranked 8th.
Now, Conor McGregor is the most outrageous example. But all of these guys, you can flip it on its head, Joe. You can flip it on the division on its head. These guys aren't even in the rankings, Kutateladze and Ismagulov. Ismagulov has won 6 fights in a row. He's 24-1 or 23-1. He will absolutely run through. I'm sorry, he will run through Poirier, Gaethje, Chandler, RDA, Conor McGregor, and Tony Ferguson. Yeah. All those guys are in the top 10. Closer to a title fight than him. I mean, it's crazy, and it's what it is that you're talking about a Georgian fighting a Kazakh Russian. If you want to know why it is like it is, did you see the post-fight interview with Ismagulov?
Yes. yeah. Bless him. Bless his cotton socks. He tried his best, but he doesn't have that Piotr Jan charm, does he? With his promos. It's ridiculous.
He ain't selling out MSG with Conor anytime soon.
No. Bless him. I'm actually looking at these rankings. Dan Hooker at 13.
Joe, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Diego Ferreira, I can just about accept at 15. Yeah. Although saying that he's lost 3 in a row. Actually, I don't accept that. No, I don't accept that. Fucking hell! I'd accept Bobby Green in there ahead of some of these guys. It's
crazy.
Bobby Green should be in there ahead of Conor, Tony, Hooker, and Ferreira.
Joe,
this is just ridiculous.
Conor and Tony need to get cut from the rankings immediately.
Tony's lost 4 fights in a row. One was an absolute life-changing beating. The other 2 were just complete domination. And the fourth one was a brutal, brutal knockout. He should not be ranked. The rankings, by the way, are decided by media members that the UFC choose. And when they do the rankings every week, after an event, they're given this list of the rankings, whatever, and they're given notes by the UFC on we think this guy should be in and around this sort of thing here. And they do it every single time because they want the access from the UFC. They want to have access to the events, to the fighters, so they can have these interviews. That is why Conor McGregor is ranked 8th ahead of Arman Tsarukyan, who is 11th, ahead of Fiziev, who is 10th. Fiziev, Tsarukyan, Gamrot, even Riddell should be in the top 10.
Yeah, now, look, fortunately for the listeners here on Hold
on, I'm fired up, brother. I can't, the Buckley energy is flowing through me right now.
Yeah, absolutely. The Mansa Musa, the Emperor, the Magnate. Now, look, fortunately there is some bright spot in all of this, some good ray of hope. And that ray of hope is shining down on the listeners of Hold On, I'm Talking, Brother. Because here, we tell it like it is, Joe. We're not compromised by UFC, money, sponsorship, tickets.
No, not yet.
And we're not bitter about it because we want to preserve our independence. So, Dana, I'm sorry. Your email is not getting read because we need to say how it is. This is some bullshit at lightweight.
You can offer us the finest Las Vegas hookers. We're going to still tell it how it is on this podcast.
An evening with Dan, it wouldn't be enough, even in Las Vegas.
Anyway, telling you how it is, USADA just simply does not work. Gregory Rodrigues beats Julian Marquez. I mean, Marquez took about 8 unnecessary shots in this. Who was the ref? Was it Beltran? For this
I think
fight?
It was Beltran.
Beltran was just like, I want to see this fucker go down. Like that was his, and he went down like an absolute sack of shit. Like his feet went underneath him, and Marquez flat on his back. as Rodrigues, whose nickname is RoboCop, by the way.
Great.
And as Tom was telling me before, is just about 30 years old and looks like Vanderlei Silva as he does now. Like, it's not...
Yeah, there's a few interesting things about Gregory Rodrigues. It's also that man is 6'3". He's fucking enormous. He does not look like that kind of size, Joe. He doesn't look that age, he doesn't look that size, and he doesn't look like he's got that speed. Like, when I saw him, they were showing some clips of his previous fights, and I was like, there's some serious shades of 40-year-old Jacare here, where he's just kind of like motoring forwards, the roids are just kind of affecting his muscle movements. But he put on a beating against Marquez, who's a legitimate guy in his own right, with some good wins in the UFC. And I thought Rodrigues looked phenomenal, the diversity of strikes he was landing here.
Yeah, it was so, and really slick combos as well, and also good single shots to like set up the combos. Marquez was just absolutely frozen as well, and then when he was rocked and just windmilling, like just throwing these shots that were like getting nowhere near in the hope of keeping him off, Rodrigues just stepping back just a smidge and then just coming back in and wiping him out. I mean, Jesus Christ, like, what a performance from Rodrigues. Brutal finish. And I'm going to ask the all-important question, Tom. Who's he facing next?
Oh, well, off a fight like that, he's another guy who's right there. He's on the outskirts of the division. And you've got to think, somebody like Weidman, like Shabazian, they don't want to fight. They don't want to fight Rodrigues. I'm looking at the rankings, and Shabazian, whenever we bring up these rankings now with the middleweights that we've talked about before, and we'll get to another middleweight in a minute, I just keep looking at Shabazian. I'm just like, damn, he is in a bad spot. He is in a bad place. Well, they should take him out of the rankings, Joe.
Yeah, they should take him out of the rankings.
Give him a chance, the poor boy.
But we could also see him next year after 2 fights in Bellator facing Mousasi for the middleweight title, couldn't we? Like, this is just... He's in a rough spot. Right. Speaking of rankings, freshly ranked, my favourite bantamweight fighter, Adrian Yanez, defeats Tony Kelly. Tony the racist Kelly, who didn't want to get on a plane and put a mask on, so he drove 8 hours from Louisiana. No, it was 16 hours from Louisiana to Vegas for a fight at the Apex Center. Yanez absolutely smoked this dude, didn't he? It was just absolute beatdown.
Yeah, now I have to say I missed the pre-fight animosity, and indeed it seems the post-fight animosity. I know we're going to get onto that. What was the setup going into the fight between Kelly and Yanez?
I think Kelly just said, I'm going to knock you out, and Yanez said, I'm afraid you're not, and then he didn't, and knocked him out. That's at least what I know. So
I got to say, I feel like this was a bit of a gimme for Yanez.
Yes. Yeah, this was knock this fool out if you want. I've got to say as well, Yanez catching the kicks, even when they were landing on him, and just keep going through it, knowing that eventually I'm going to catch a kick and I'm going to have him prone so that I can land my shot. Because when you catch a kick and the person you let go of their foot, that person then has to then land, reset, and then get back in position. And you're already going to be 2 steps ahead of him. Yanez kept doing that and was unloading on Kelly. And Kelly just kept throwing these kicks. Brainless decision. Absolutely brainless decision. And Yanez as well, dig into the body as well. Kelly took about maybe 5 shots too many. Not that I'm complaining. Again, I think it was one of those where ref maybe had a bit of money on Kelly and was hoping he could maybe recover and get back into this. But no, not to be. And Yanez puts him away. Yeah. Again, super neat technique. And Yanez he's flying now in the UFC.
He's flying, Joe. That's 5 fights in the UFC. I believe it's 4 performance of the night and 1 fight of the night. So that tells you all you need to know. Hot stuff, Adrian Yanez. And this was really a display of masterful aggression, controlled violence.
Yep.
He knew his time was coming. He was hurting Kelly every time, but didn't quite see the opening to really be decisive. And when it came, he dispatched Kelly with ease. Onwards and upwards. Welcome to the big time at bantamweight. Gets a bit tough now, though, Joe.
Are you seeing the name that I'm seeing?
I mean, I see 15 names in there. All of them sound like good fights. What is it that you like in particular?
Frankie Edgar.
Oof. Oof. Have we seen
to me, that's
tested against a wrestler of Frankie's caliber?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. You could maybe have him face, the loser of O'Malley Munoz.
I mean, against O'Malley, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe, it's just endless here at bantamweight. You're telling me you don't want to watch Yanez versus Song Yadong? Yanez versus Rob Font?
You could start making you could make some of these fights as like fight night main events now as well.
Yeah.
Yanez versus Edgar. I'd watch that for 5 rounds if it went that far. I think that would be an absolutely sick fight, and I think Yanez is up to it.
Well,
I absolutely just love watching him. I love his adaptations as well, and his like fight to fight adaptations. Because when he fought, what's your man's name who gasses out after 1 round? Randy Costa. Costa was landing some big kicks on Yanez, and you could see that he didn't like that. So in this fight, adjusted to it, catching the kicks, and punishing Kelly for it. Fantastic performance.
Great stuff. I mean, we could be here all pod talking about this card because we had a series of prelim knockouts as well. Unfortunately, we do need to move on to bigger things, but quick shout out to I guess Roman Dolidze and Phil Hawes would be the standout performances for me on the prelims.
Yeah, Dolidze, particularly with getting his knee up in that clinch position, was very impressive. By the way, Dolidze Dorcas opening this. What a fight to start this card.
It's wild. This is better than last weekend. I'm sorry. It's
put
a title
top
fight
to bottom
on this, and it's unbelievable, these prelims.
Yeah, top to bottom, this is incredible. Phil Hawes beating the absolute shit out of Darren Wynn.
I didn't like this.
No, I did. This shouldn't have gone on as long as it did. By the way, why didn't Darren Wynn's corner throw in the towel? Like that last 90 seconds, he didn't need to be in there. Get him out of there. To save his pride?
I just don't know what's going on there. I'm really trying to see some angle. Now, whilst we've seen other fighters here take a big beat down and never really come back, at least Marquez, when he was eating shots, he came out swinging and you thought, yeah, he can catch Rodrigues here. He's not liking this. This is going to hurt in the morning, but he's still in the fight. There was no point whatsoever where Darren Wynn looked like he was going to change this fight in any way.
No. He started swinging, but it was far too late. Like, he was just done. He was absolutely done at that stage. And it was like, he wasn't even close to Phil Hawes. I don't understand as well. Darren Wynn is a very short man for the middleweight division. He's obviously, I mean, maybe not to the extent that DC was at light heavyweight and heavyweight. But why then does he then fight with...
Hold up, I've got to contest that. I can't let that one go unchallenged. Darren Wynn is 5'6" at middleweight, Joe. At middleweight, you have to be able to fight Luke Rockhold,
Oh, no. What I meant was that DC didn't have that much of a disadvantage.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, okay. We're on the same
sorry. I wasn't clear
there. Is totally mismatched in this division. Fight probably shouldn't have been made, and I mean it's just taking years off Wynn's life.
But I don't understand this. That there's like this. There seems to be a blueprint with these sorts of guys, particularly the wrestler, is that you have to do the mummy guard thing that Cormier did. You have to hand fight. But Wynn's got his hands planted next to his head, meaning that he's got so much further to go, and he's got no way of stopping it. Yeah, it opens you up for body shots and whatnot, but it then opens you up then for when a body shot comes, you can hook your hand underneath and get into the wrestling exchanges. Anyway, just utterly bizarre matchmaking. One more maybe off of this.
Ramos.
Jeremiah, what's that?
Not Ricardo Ramos with another.
Ramos, great spinning. Yeah, got him up against the cage and landed that spinning elbow because there was nowhere for him to go. And then Jeremiah Wells finishing Court McGee. Lovely combo with a beautiful left hook at the end of it.
Yeah, right on the end of the punch. Really the one that just turns the jaw to the side and folds the opponent. Great knockout in a sea of amazing knockouts. Great card. If you haven't seen it yet,
what's your favourite knockout? What's your favourite one? Or your favourite finish, if you're going to include the Darce choke.
A moment of silence there, Joe, because this, like, my favourite fight was Ismagulov Kutateladze.
Yes.
My favourite body is Joaquin Buckley.
Of course.
But if I'm thinking about a finish, it's some really tough competition. I guess I kind of lean towards Rodrigues.
Yeah, same. I really like that one a lot. By the way, can I just shout out the women's fights? Two really good women's.
You can't do that.
Two women's. Yeah, very very quickly. Maria Oliveira, Gloria De Paula, really good scrap, and then also Natalia Silva put on a absolute clinic against Jasmine Jazadovicius. There we go. Just about got it out there. Really good performance from her as well. Fantastic card. Fantastic card. Anyway, we're running out of time here. Let's talk about next week's card. Should we start with the main event of Arman's, or should I go my usual thing of going up the card and just talking about it?
Joe, under your guidance, we can go wherever you want.
Let's go. Let's start with the main event. Arman Tsarukyan will face Matthias Gamrot.
Joe, are you trying to set me off again?
What's the pronunciation?
Nah, it's not the pronunciation. It's this matchmaking. You've got two absolute killers. Why are they fighting each other? Why now?
You say that this should be saved for later.
I'm saying Kutateladze has just fought Gamrot. Kutateladze and Gamrot have already had a fight. Tsarukyan has already fought Makhachev.
Yeah.
There's plenty of absolute sitting ducks for either of these guys lining the division ahead.
They're not going to take it.
They're trying to neutralise these guys. It's bullshit, Joe. How is Makhachev... I've spoken in favour of Makhachev fighting Dariush.
Oliveira?
No,
Dariush, sorry.
No, I've spoken in favour of that because two wrestlers, how they match up. Okay, keep it fresh, keep the strikers, whatever. But when you take the whole picture of these killers being matched up against each other to try and blunt each other, to try and limit them so that you don't have to match them up against the top of the division, it's bullshit, Joe. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, because you know that the loser of this, they're not getting a favourable matchup in their next fight. They're not getting Dan Hooker.
No.
They're not getting it's like, yeah, go fight Mark Madsen on the prelims of some fight night that no one's going to watch. Like,
well, you know who they're going to get, Joe. They're going to get Ismagulov.
Yeah, and then it's just like, yeah, loser of that, see you later.
Turns out he wasn't any good. He's lost 2 fights in a row, you know.
Yeah,
not like Tony, or not like
exactly.
Nonsense. But anyway, that man who's going to lose this fight is Gamrot. Tsarukyan's too good. He's too good, Joe. He's too fucking good.
And he's big as well. He's filled out in the division, and he's young. He's only 25 years old.
The guy's amazing, and he's going to fight Makhachev again for the belt soon.
I can't wait. That was a real feeling when you rewatch that fight, is that these guys aren't done. And I kind of feel the same way about Ismagulov and Kutateladze, is that I feel like these guys could fight again.
Absolutely, and so they should. I'm just really worried about, we got to do some clearing out. I've got to clean up lightweight. It is the premium division. We have the fighters. Enough.
Well, it's like also if Poirier is going to become a celebrity fighter, again, just take him out the rankings at that stage. I know they're not going to, but like,
Joe, how many celebrity fighters can we have here? We've got,
fuck them off. Fuck them off into their own division. It's around about 170, 155, 170. Have them fight Nate Diaz or some bullshit like that I don't care about. Like, whatever. Anyway,
what we need to do. I've had a revelation, Joe.
Yeah.
Right. We get Ismagulov into English school.
Yeah, okay.
And then 1 hour a week he meets with Joaquin.
Oh.
The meeting of worlds, the meeting of minds.
Promo class.
East and West. Promo class, exclusive with Joaquin.
Wow.
Yes.
That'd be incredible. Right, co-main event. Now, this fight was apparently going to be the main event, but it's been bumped down to the co-main event. 3-round fight between Neil Magny and Shavkat Rakhmonov. Man, Neil Magny, fair play to him. He is that guy who is willing to take those fights. When he was offering to take Chimaev, it was clearly for real, because he is fighting Rakhmonov, who is no scrub whatsoever, and I think potential welterweight champion.
Yeah, you're pretty hot on Rakhmonov, Joe. You've said so before. I think first time he came into the UFC with that hat, I did warn you. I think you didn't.
I remember.
Yeah, but since then,
I was a little bit like, all right, let's just wait and see. But since then, I've been wowed. Like, this guy blew me away.
What should we be looking out for going into this fight from Rakhmonov? What are his real strengths?
His real strengths are his kickboxing and then his ground and pound. His ground and pound is very reminiscent of actually Volkanovski's, in that he sort of stands over them with this triangle base with this downward pressure that is near enough impossible to get out of, and it is hellacious hellfire ground and pound. And if Magny is on his back at any stage, he is probably going to get taken out of there. Like, I think Rakhmonov might be able to finish him, which is a hell of a feat. I mean, how many people have finished Magny?
Ponzinibbio is the only one that stands to mind.
Did RDA finish him at welterweight? I can't remember. I'll look that up in a moment. But yeah, we could be looking at a real standout moment here. He lost. He's actually been finished a few times. Damian Maia, Lorenz Larkin, RDA, Ponzinibbio, they've all finished him.
Yeah, but in very different styles. Now, look, props to Magny for taking the fight. Let's start off with that. Props to Magny.
Yeah.
Because, these other guys aren't taking those fights. The same kind of matchup in lightweight that we've just been lamenting. So, first of all, good for Magny if he takes it. Obviously, a win for Magny. He's looking right back up the division again. And yeah, excellent. What's next?
Josh Parisian versus Alan Baudot at heavyweights.
Sounds sloppy.
I think sounds sloppy, whatever. Thiago Moises versus Christos Giagos at lightweight. According to Tapology, Giagos is the number 49 lightweight in the world. So don't think we'll see him in the deep waters just yet. His current streak is 1 loss. So I don't think... not quite as excited for that now. Here we go. This is a good one. Bantamweight fight here. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Nate Maness. Maness, by the way, 14-1 on a current, I think it's a 6-fight win streak. Have I got that right? No, 4 wins. Sorry, my mistake. 4-win fight streak. I got the feeling, though, this is a highlight reel potentially for Nurmagomedov.
There've been a few now, Joe. A few now. Another guy who's just out there at bantamweight, lurking outside the top 15.
Yeah, I think they're going to let him just simmer for a bit there and wait a while before sort of pushing him up the rankings. Also, Umar Nurmagomedov, more well known for his kicking game than his grappling game, although he does obviously have that grappling game there. And then last of all, guy me and you are both big fans of, Chris Curtis against Rodolfo Vieira. Curtis, who'd spent a long time on the regional scene, finally gets a shot in the UFC, comes in, knocks out our boy Phil Hawes. Okay. A bit of an upset specialist. Didn't he have a fight not that long afterwards where he came from behind and
he absolutely did. It's been a real feel-good story for Chris Curtis.
What are you thinking of this against Rodolfo Vieira?
I hope it continues. I certainly want to see more of Chris Curtis. He's a fun guy. He's got good energy, and I think he brings more to the ecosphere of UFC than Rodolfo Vieira. So I hope for a win. Now I just want to revisit that win over Phil Hawes. Yeah. That's aging pretty well.
It's aging very well. Hawes is kind of like one of the best unranked guys at middleweight. I mean, there's quite a few now. Obviously, Buckley's number 1. Hawes, Chris Curtis, Dricus du Plessis. These are all guys who are unranked. All strikers as well. Middleweight's starting to simmer up a few more strikers up through there. And as you say, as we point out with most of these divisions, there's some easy prey waiting for you there. I'm looking at you, Uriah Hall at 9, Gastelum at 10, Tavares at 12, Weidman at 14, Shabazian at 15. Jesus.
Get
them all.
Clear them out.
Get them out. Get them out of there. Get them the fuck
Joe,
out of there.
The sport is so hot right now.
Yeah.
it's enough. Enough with the old card. Enough.
By the way, get Andre Muniz. He should be pushed up there as well. And I'm actually thinking this: if Hermansson beats Till, get Till out of there, man. Like, enough of this shit. At least our boy Rob is keeping it tight up there at the top of the middleweight rankings. We can always rely on him to deliver. Right, listeners, thank you so much for joining us. What an episode! Fucking hell, that was dense. Let's wrap this up here, Tom. We'll be back next week. I think we can safely guarantee that, with a preview of UFC 276, Adesanya versus Cannonier, and Volkanovski versus Holloway 3.
Can't wait for that, Joe. Cannot wait.
As well as a talk about this week's Fight Night card as well. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you enjoyed the fights as much as we did. And Tom, I'll see you next week.
See you next week, Joe. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.